Well, another day, more Oilers roster moves, friends, with Evander Kane expected to get back into the lineup tonight against the Chicago Blackhawks. It is James Hamblin who's been sent down to the Bakersfield Condors. And I know what you're saying. Tyson, I've seen this nowhere. I haven't heard this yet. Or maybe you're tuning in just after the news has come out. Friends, at current, this is insider info from, well, maybe that same source that we talked about prior to Christmas there that had the news on Marcus Niemelainen being recalled by the Edmonton Oilers, which sent both me and Patrick from the Oilers Fanatic into a tizzy about who are the Oilers sending on that airplane back to Anaheim. That was what, the December 18th game or whatever. Anyway, friends, this is Dolynny TV. Good afternoon. Welcome aboard as we get set for more Oilers discussion here today. I promised you I'd be back if anything changed prior to game time tonight at 8 o'clock against the Chicago Blackhawks. And that we are, friends. Before we get there, though, let's definitely discuss the housekeeping notes, which is if you're new to the channel, I'd love to have you aboard, and if you'd consider hitting subscribe and joining us, almost 10,400 crazy Oilers fans, that would be greatly appreciated. We're sitting at 10,375 this morning, so thank you to everybody so far over the past month here, especially that's hit that subscribe button, and everybody long term who's been watching for as long as I can remember at this point. Anyway, James Hamblin, well, what do we know? On January 20th, he was recalled from the Bakersfield Condors to pretty much take place of the absent Evander Kane, who had headed to San Jose for his bankruptcy trial, I believe, is what's been going on here over the past week or so in Oilers land, and the reason for Kane's absence. Thankfully, the Oilers really not playing a ton of hockey games as of late. Right, we had that long break, then we had Columbus, then we've had another long break, and we will have the Chicago Blackhawks tonight. James Hamblin was brought in just in case there was an injury and you needed somebody in the lineup. Sickness, because I know, yes, Matthias Janmark was sick, and that was something else we had been keeping an eye on as well. So for the Oilers tonight, obviously going down, getting Kane back up, James Hamblin headed back to Bakersfield. And the question here, the text message I got based on this whole circumstance, is unsure if it will make him available in time for the Condors game tonight. So, right, the Condors are in action. Of course, it's the weekend. That's usually when the AHL plays their games. So that is kind of the situation we find ourselves in right now for our AHL affiliate, is they will be getting James Hamblin back. And you're wondering, well, James Hamblin, I didn't even know he was up with the NHL squad. Well, my friends, that would be because James Hamblin has only played 10 games. That was in his prior stint with the Oilers this season. Like I said, recalled on January 20th or thereabout, and he was pretty much brought up just to be an extra security blanket for the Oilers, if you would, right? $807,000 contract isn't going to cost too much day to day against the cap, and that allows you to pretty much keep somebody in tow in case the Oilers do indeed need a body at some point in case of sickness or injury, which they didn't, and now Evander Kane is back and ready to go here against the Chicago Blackhawks. So again, I've made a lot of mention here on the channel about James Hamblin and how excited I am for him to be an Edmonton Oiler, and how excited I am to see him hopefully one day score that first NHL goal. But right now, as it currently stands, he'll have to go back to the AHL Bakersfield Condors. I did get to watch Hamblin down there in against the Wranglers. Yeah, against the Wranglers. That's who I was trying to think. In the AHL when they came to Calgary, but now we get to sit here and see if Mr. James Hamblin can go back to the AHL and have another great little stint. And this is the big part here is, you know, some of you might think this is just filler at this point, which it is, but I'll tell you this. Bakersfield really needs some guys like James Hamblin to be in the lineup consistently, because what's been happening for them here as of late is just they have not been able to find a regular rhythm due to having to shuffle up the lines, guys being out with injury, guys being up in the NHL, and obviously missing pieces that make them a successful team, right? As when you lose James Hamblin for a span of 2 or 3 games at the AHL level, and I mean, you know what, we're talking about a guy who has 0 points in 10 games at the NHL level, but James Hamblin is an impact player for the AHL Bakersfield Condors. So when you lose a guy like him for 2 to 3 games, and somebody has to step up, you have to shuffle the deck a little bit, it kind of really throws your team for a loop. And you know what? It does allow guys like Raphael Lavoie, who have stepped up substantially for our Bakersfield team, um, to step up. But again, right, is I think any hockey team never wants to be without guys that they would consider star players, and that is what I would consider James Hamblin with the Bakersfield Condors. He's a guy that drives the offense. I think he had, what, 20 some odd goals last year in the AHL. I don't know what his stats are looking like this year, but I know for a fact that when James Hamblin is in the lineup, your team is a better team at the AHL level. And unfortunately for the Condors, they've had to suffer quite a bit of time without him this season. Right, a 10-game stint and then a week-long stint up here in Edmonton, just basically filling in for Mr. Evander Kane, who has been out of the lineup. So that's where, again, right, is Bakersfield, and this actually may be coming at a good time too for Bakersfield, if I'm going to just make mention of that, because for Bakersfield, they had a game last night that I think would definitely be very Oilers-esque, right? A game where, man, fans are frustrated right out of the gate. You're down early against a bad team, and then suddenly, bang, you end up winning 4-3 and all's hunky-dory. But the problem is for the Condors is, yeah, I mean, in development, I think the best thing that's good for development is adversity, but also winning because of that adversity. And right now, the Condors haven't had the best go of that as of yet late, but hopefully here with getting Hamblin back into the lineup, they can turn this around. And for the Oilers too, what this does is just to kind of give you an idea as we get Evander Kane back into the lineup. I just want to make sure I made heavy mention of the Condors in this one because, right, without those contacts in Bakersfield, we don't have this quote-unquote scoop right now. But as it is right now for the Oilers, in terms of LTIR usage remaining, this would put us up over $1 million in the pool with James Hamblin going down to Bakersfield. So there you go. That kind of makes the numbers work out a little bit nicer as you're saving on that daily cap hit savings. So that's huge for the Oilers right now if they can maintain as many cap hit number savings as possible going into the trade deadline. That's the number. I don't know how much cap space the Oilers realistically have available at the NHL trade deadline, but as we all know, it's dollars in, dollars out. But James Hamblin hopefully doing his part going back to Bakersfield, having served his purpose here in Edmonton this go round, and now hopefully we'll be able to take the Condors on a next step up as the season continues in California. Friends, I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon. Really appreciate you being along for the ride. And like I said, a lot of this back half of the video was filler, but there's a lot that I just wanted to give some thoughts on and make mention of because I feel for our friends in Bakersfield, I haven't done a very good job of covering off the Condors this year, but just with the situation being what it is, having to work those extra few hours at work or the drive being longer due to weather conditions or whatever, the days that I do have those times, time seems to evaporate. So thank you for hanging out with me here this last little bit to just basically talk about the Condors. Anyways, I am up on out of here.